Yeah. I honestly, yeah, no, I don't do it.
Hey, don't laugh. I've done no life. Okay. Oh, okay. I'll let him know.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're in the team. She only did like this for me.
How late are they open? The last, that'd be pretty funny. The last restaurant will be gone. That's so generous of giving. I know you're a giver.
We can have a serious conversation. Let's storm off. One thing I loved about the legislature, it was over, and you could go home for a while. And not have to see each other for a while. Yeah. Yeah.
Every once in a while, that video like will pop up into my social media feed from some like Brianna. I can't believe that was 10 years ago.
I like that. I do like music. It's too bad. Or the only one I remember, I'm going to give you the ones that I would not read. Oh, I can't believe that joke. I can't tell that one. Can't do that. Oh, gosh. The one that can't be retold?
Waiting on Calvin.
everybody a chance to assemble here.
Probably should be to the right of you.
Everybody got your sound all set. Make sure we've got all of our speakers here. Come on up, folks. Feel free.
Squeeze in.
Squeeze in.
Brad, would you tell Lori she should be visible?
Come on up. Hi, Mayor Lisa Brown here. Good afternoon. We're here to share an update on the future of our emergency communications in our region. The first thing I want to do, though, is acknowledge and show gratitude for the people who take the calls. It's a tough job. I, as part of this process and since becoming mayor, have had the opportunity to do a ride-along, so to speak, with call takers in Spokane Police Dispatch, and it is tough. And what they do, the stories they hear, the way they connect to people, the way they connect to first responders, and the way they do it as quickly and effectively as possible is really, they're really life or death type situations that they confront. And I just want them to know that we have tremendous gratitude for them. Following a series of good faith negotiations, the City of Spokane, Spokane County, and Spokane Regional Emergency Communications, affectionately known as SREC, have approved an interlocal agreement to safely transition emergency communication services. In simpler terms, the City of Spokane will be moving forward creating our own 911 call center in a transition period that will take place over the next 2 years. SREC currently provides call taking and dispatch services for over 21 law enforcement and fire agencies across Spokane County, including the Spokane Fire Department. SREC answers and passes through calls for the Spokane Police Department and handles crime check calls and report writing. As the city stands up its own 911 call center, we will take over call taking, dispatch, and report writing. For Spokane Fire and Spokane Police, we will handle crime check calls within city limits. We will make this transition over a 2-year period with full implementation of the city's 911 call center, which will be called the Spokane United 911 Network, set for January 2028. The transition includes key operational milestones over those 2 years, and most importantly, ensures uninterrupted 911 service for the public. I want to thank my colleagues who are here with me today for their partnership and work over the past few months. Together, we crafted a plan that addresses both immediate needs and future challenges, ensuring continuity of services and providing a roadmap that benefits the entire region. The plan is reliable and predictable in terms of workflow and budgeting. Most importantly, it ensures a coordinated, safe, effective transition to 2 primary 911 call centers in our region. And with that, I just want to say, I think when agreements like this happen, sometimes people say, well, who won? And I just want to say the public safety is who won. And as we focused on that, it became clear, much clearer, I think, to all of us what we needed to do to put this plan in place. And with that, I'd like to call forward Chief Cody Roarbach.
Thank you, Mayor. All right, good afternoon. Cody Roarbach, Board Chair for Spokane Regional Emergency Communications, Fire Chief for Spokane County Fire District 3. I'm excited. Today's a big day for public safety for our entire region. This agreement, and I should point out, that was unanimously supported by the SREC Board, the County Commissioners, as well as City of Spokane today, passing this morning, represents a solution to our longstanding differences on apportionment and services and how we should proceed, and it comes at just the the right time. So I'd like to first address our community and say our message to our community is simple and straightforward. This agreement allows for high-quality 911 services to continue uninterrupted into the future. The systems that we rely on, not just 911, but also crime check, those things that we know are important to our community, are still in place. Next, to our first responders, our communications professionals, right, for Spokane Police Department, for Spokane Regional Emergency Communications, firefighters, law enforcement who are out there working together collaboratively every day. This agreement works for you. It allows us to continue into the future, blind to borders. We know that interoperability is important to us. We know that law enforcement often crosses boundaries to keep our communities safe. We know that wildfires really don't care which side of the street you live upon. And this agreement allows us to continue to function that way into the future. And I would also like to thank our city and county leadership for creating a community-first solution and one that's not partisan. Public safety is not partisan. And so, Mayor, thank you to you and your team, and as well as the City Council, particularly members Cathcart and Wilkerson. Would not be possible without your efforts. And to our county commissioners, all of them who work together collaboratively to really create a solution for our entire community that wouldn't have been possible without everyone pulling in the same direction. And that's why I'm encouraged to see a unanimous vote today in support of this agreement. In closing, for me, I would say ultimately we all serve the same community, and I'm encouraged to see the collaborative support we've had that was really required everyone's efforts over the last month to make this possible. And so it's encouraged me. I think that's what the community expects from us. They expect high quality public safety and 911 services. This agreement allows for that, and I think they also like to see the collaboration that we saw, and I look forward to seeing more of that in the future. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Chief Roarbach and Mayor Brown. I'm County Commissioner Chris Jordan, representing the west side of the city of Spokane, as well as some north side areas of the county, like 5 Mile, Fairwood, and Country Homes. Today is a very good day for public safety and local government cooperation in our region. There is no more foundational public service that residents expect their government to get right than 911. When you're in trouble and you need help, you dial those numbers. Someone needs to answer, and the right response needs to come quickly. It's a very complex system, but we have to get 911 right because, as the mayor said, lives are on the line. For years, regional leaders have been at odds with each other over how our 911 is set up and how it's paid for. Throughout 2025, Spokanites may have seen more headlines about disputes and distrust between the agencies. Facing expiring service contracts and January legal deadlines, local jurisdictions were hurtling toward potential crisis. With bitter court battles, first responders put at risk, and disruptions to some 911 services as real possibilities. But not today, no more. We are changing that narrative, and we are replacing it with cooperation. Taxpayers expect leaders to address big issues by working together for the common good, and that is what has happened here. With this agreement, we are overcoming these long-standing disputes between jurisdictions over big and important issues. And getting to yes has not been easy, with so much at stake for so many agencies and constituencies. I want to personally thank Mayor Lisa Brown, Chief Cody Roarbach, Commissioner Al French, Council President Betsy Wilkerson, Councilmember Michael Cathcart for your relentless determination to stay at the table and find a solution that works for the whole region, no matter how many meetings it took, and it did take many. Thank you all for stepping up and leading. One big takeaway from the agreement is that the county, the city, and SREC are no longer fighting about how to fairly share sales and excise taxes that support 911 emergency communications. We've worked that out. Ultimately, once the city is ready to take its 911 and crime check calls and the state produces some data we'll be seeking, the revenues will be shared based on where the tax dollars are generated. If the taxes are generated within the city of Spokane, they will support the city's 911 program and vice versa. Funding and workload will transition in phases that give the city a pathway to establish its PSAP while keeping SREC resourced and preventing disruptions to 911, protecting first responder automatic mutual aid and public safety. And we've agreed, rather than fighting each other over the past in court, we will simply move forward, sharing tax resources fairly and working together in a way that sets the entire region up for success to the best of our ability. That's the right thing to do. And as we look to implement this plan, we now have the framework to work through any additional challenges that arise. Lastly, I also want to thank the dedicated public servants who work hard in 911 and emergency response every day. The call takers, dispatchers, the technical folks who get these complex systems working and talking to each other, first responders on the ground, they are the backbone of this work. And some good news is now that we have this framework in place, the direction is clear. We all up here can get out of the way and support those professionals in doing what they do best, helping their neighbors in every corner of Spokane County get the help they need to be safe and healthy. And with that, I'll pass it on to my colleague, Commissioner Al French.
You know, with every negotiation, when it's done, the question to be asked is, well, who won? And in this situation, I'm very proud to say the citizens won, because we now have an agreement between three entities that will help guarantee that emergency communications are available to every city a resident in the county, whether you're in the northeast part of the county or the southwest part of the county or in the city of Spokane. You know, the one nice thing about Spokane is that we do not have hurricanes and we do not have tornadoes. But what we do have is wildfires. We have ice storms, we have snowstorms, we have windstorms, as we're currently experiencing. And they do not respect jurisdictional boundaries. So in the early 2000s, when we went to the voters and said, we want to create a regional emergency communication system, so it didn't matter what part of the county you were in, if you called 911, you were going to get help. But more importantly, and a lot of folks don't realize this, that before we created SREC, you can be a first responder in parts of the county and there was no radio service. There was no ability to get backup help. There was no mutual support. And with voters supporting the ballot measure in 2006, that included Crime Check, we were able to build a regional system that provides not only response, emergency response for our citizens, but also for our first responders, the ability to communicate with each other in the event of a disaster. And you don't have to think back very far to the Gray Fire and the Oregon Fire, two major fires in the county, and with the emergency communication system that we built on behalf of the taxpayers, our first responders were able to respond to each other, communicate with each other, allocate resources to effectively protect our citizens. That's what the system was designed to do, and with this agreement, it'll continue to do this in the future. So I do want to thank both the leadership at the city, the mayor and the council members, my fellow commissioner, Mr. Chris Jordan, and especially Cody Roarbach. Cody Roarbach, as the chair of SREC, carried a heavy load in this process. He had to not only negotiate with the two other entities, but also with the board of 20 agencies across this county. And if it wasn't for his leadership, I'm not sure that we would be here today. So a special call out to Chief Roarbach and the SREC board for hanging in there as we went through the process of finding a solution. So thank you, and thank you to the voters that allowed this system to be constructed to be able to keep you safe. I'll now turn it over to Council President Wilkerson.
Thank you, and thank you everyone for being here. And I'm so emotional that we are here on behalf of the citizens. And I look at all the leadership behind me, but can I tell you what we said after we had negotiated? We told the lawyers to get out of the way. We said, don't screw this up. We have come to an agreement on the benefit of our citizens. But I just want to say, putting people first has always been for the greater good of Spokane. That's why we were elected. It's for the greater good of the people we serve. Establishing an agreement that benefits both city and county residents demonstrates the collective governance is possible to ensure better outcomes. And outcomes are what we are celebrating here today. Commissioner Jordan was right. It's like if I get one more phone call for one more meeting, the answer will be no. But we were put in a room together, and this is no joke, y'all, this is serious. We were put in a room together and the door was closed. And we stayed there until we hammered out our differences. And because of that, we have a system that will serve the entire county because the city is in the county, and I am so thankful. I am also thankful for my counterpart, Councilmember Cathcart. Coming up, Councilmember Cathcart, I just want to say Councilmember Cathcart is amazing because he is my go-to detail guy, because I'm telling y'all, we went into some weeds on this contract and this interlocal agreement. And for that, Councilmember Cathcart, I really appreciate that. And really, all the work is behind us, and now I look forward to the future. And I, too, want to say thank you to the call takers and the dispatchers. I've sat in one of those chairs, and what they have to go through and what they have to listen to could be traumatizing for any of us on any given day, and they do it 365 days out of the year, 24/7. So a big shout out. Any words, Councilmember Cathcart?
I just, again, want to reaffirm what others have said. A big thank you to everybody who took part in these discussions. I could not have been more impressed with just the solution-oriented focus from every single individual in every single meeting. A couple of months ago, I was very concerned. It felt like speeding towards this public safety cliff. And I'm just really grateful that everybody saw the urgency, came together, and came up with what I think is a very, very positive outcome. So very appreciative to everybody. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. I said Christmas came early this year, that we got this done before December 31st. So I'm wishing all of you the happiest of holidays and safety for everyone, that when you make the call will be answered and the right person or right entity will show up on behalf of the citizens of Spokane. Thank you all much. I'll turn it over to Kimir if she has any questions for anybody. Questions, anyone?
Questions from our media.
That one over here.
Emery.
Hi, I was just hoping for an explanation of the funding split. So we want to get to tax origination as how we figure this out, but we're waiting for a report from DOR. What are we doing in the interim?
For the 911 excise tax, we believe that currently they utilize population to distribute it to each county, and so we will use population as well unless we get the different information about tax origination. So that's where that will be. And then when it comes to the sales tax, that is already, there are already calculations made that apportion it according to where it is generated.
So if a citizen calls 911 today versus 2027 versus 2028, will they notice any difference on their end?
The citizen, the individual who calls should not notice any difference when they call.
And will people have to know where their non-emergency is located when they're calling for crime check or something like that?
No, I mean, the technology indicates where they're calling from, and they also are asked that information. I don't know, Cody, if you want to add anything.
You're doing great.
Yeah.
You're spot on. And so with the ability to geolocate and next generation 911 features, it really gives us a lot of capabilities that we didn't historically have when there was an address point tied to a landline. And so in the future, there'll be geofences that help establish which center it goes into. But fear not, right? Both PSAPs will be trained to manage calls for the other jurisdictions and manage that seamlessly to ensure they still get high quality 911. So it will still be an ecosystem that's connected and interacting together, synergistically, but there'll also be a plan in place when a call goes to, maybe it's right on the boundary, and it goes into the city of Spokane when they were 100 feet into the county. The call will still be managed. The computer-aided dispatch system will do its job to identify the appropriate resources and send them immediately without any time lost to our citizens. So great question, but everything will continue to work seamlessly and synergistically into the future, and that was really one of the big goals of the agreement.
I guess I'll also add that SREC is going through a technology upgrade, and we've agreed to have the same systems. So we will have that interoperability. We've agreed to service each other's backup centers. So there's some redundancy and resiliency built into our regional system.
So kind of similarly with the calls obviously being able to be located as they're coming in, when it comes to crime check, because I did see that the city is going to be implementing their own crime check, how, I don't know, what's the easiest way for citizens to know whether they should call 311 or the 2233 number?
Lori?
Here I am.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Lori Mark. I'm the executive director for SREC. It's really going to be based on if you look at your address, if your address is in the city of Spokane, if that's where your bills are paid to, I would recommend kind of knowing is it a 311 call if it's in the city of Spokane. Outside, it'll be the traditional crime check number.
I had a question for Chief Roarbach.
Oh, go ahead.
Going into this, the city wanted 2 years to set this up. The city's getting 2 years. What has changed for SREC since the summer? What is SREC getting out of this negotiation?
Well, and I think somebody mentioned it earlier, no, this wasn't about any agency, any single entity winning. What we're getting is service delivery tied to funding. And so there's key milestones identified in the agreement that as the city of Spokane takes on additional services, they get additional funding to perform those services. And so we've always supported that. I think the real difference is that we've all come to the table and agreed on what those services are, on the proposed time frame. The time frame that we're working on was actually developed with input by the city, so we're working off their key milestones. So at the end of the day, the service follows the funding, which has always been the concern for the other regional agencies across the county, is that we fully support the right of all agencies to determine how to best serve their communities. It's really how do we ensure that the apportionment is equitable and follows those services across the county. So that's what we've solved on over the last couple of months.
Can I add a clarifying thing? Sorry, it's me again. Clarification for the crime check. That is one of the milestones that the city has identified. So any change to crime check won't occur until at least Q4 of 2026. So please be mindful of that. As it sits today, continue to use the crime check number regardless of where you're at in the county so that we can provide you that service.
That's what I was saying. Correct.
Okay, I got one more. What safeguards are in place to prevent delays or confusion during emergencies as this switch happens?
All right. right? You know, in 911, in emergency services, there's always a backup to the backup and a backup to that. And so there's a lot of safeguards from our, our CAD system with redundant hardware, with testing environment that we do before we actually go live on any of the changes, with a lot of communication out on the front end. And I would just tell you that a 911 or emergency communications system is probably much more complex than the average community member would imagine. And so there's a lot of things that need to be considered before we make changes. And so we have the milestones identified. We're all confident that there will be things that are out of all sides' control, but we're all committed to working collaboratively together to get to the end state rather than the individual date identified in the contract. Is how do we get it right rather than get it fast or adhere to a strict date, that we ensure we have all the backups in place, that we ensure the redundant systems are on and working in a testing environment before we even utilize that in a live environment, and then we communicate that out well so that the public knows when those switches are occurring, as well as our first responders.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Again, happy holidays.
JT. Now we get to do SJA.
Yes. Are you? It's very nice to meet you.